Snow fell slowly over the ruined battlefield, covering broken weapons, shattered helmets, abjured helmets. A cold wind whispered through the trees, carrying the smell of smoke and death. In the middle of it all, an alien girl named Sira crawled. On her hands and knees, her skin was pale blue, bruised and bloodied, and her eyes filled with pain. She tried to stand, but her leg was wounded. Blood soaked through the torn cloth around her thigh. Every breath felt sharp, like ice cutting. Her lungs, her people had left her behind. They said she was weak, a traitor, not worth saving. She had begged them, begged her own commander, but they had turned their backs on her. Now she was alone, crawling across the snow with no hope. Her device beeped, a low warning, power low. Signal weak. She pressed the button again. This is Sira, still alive. Please respond. But there was only silence. She looked up as a shuttle roared through the sky, her people's last ship. It disappeared into the clouds, leaving her behind without a second thought. Tears froze on her cheeks as she curled into a ball. Her fingers were going numb and her vision blurred. She closed her eyes, whispering, "This is how I die." But then she heard something crunching snow. Footsteps, slow but steady. Moving through the forest, Sira opened her eyes weakly, her heart pounding. Was it another enemy scout? Was it one of her own? She tried to reach for a stick to defend herself, but her hands were shaking too much. From the trees, a figure stepped out tall. Wearing dark green armor, it was a human soldier. She froze, afraid. She had been trained since childhood. Humans were monsters. Killers, destroyers, they took no prisoners. They showed no mercy. But the human didn't raise a weapon. He stopped a few feet away, looked down at her, and said something in English she couldn't understand, but his voice was calm. He took off his helmet. His face was rough. With short brown hair, tired eyes, and a scar across his cheek, he knelt in front of her and opened a bag from it. He pulled out a warm blanket and slowly reached forward. Sira flinched, but he didn't hurt her. Instead, he wrapped the blanket around her shoulders and gave her a small energy bar. She looked at him, confused. Why? He pointed to himself and said, "Logan." Then he pointed to her. "You?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Sira." He smiled gently. That smile broke something inside her, a wall, a fear. It wasn't the smile of a killer. It was the smile of someone who didn't see her as an enemy, someone who saw her as a person. He lifted her carefully, cradling her in his arms as if she was made of glass. She was light, too light, and he noticed how cold she felt. He walked through the snow with slow, steady steps. Sira rested her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. For the first time in days, she felt safe. They reached a broken shelter hidden behind rocks and trees. It was small, with half its roof missing, but it had a heater and a medkit. Logan laid her down gently on a cot and began treating her wounds. He didn't say much, just worked silently, wrapping her leg, giving her sips of warm water. She watched him, wondering why would a human help her. That night, while she slept, Logan stayed awake. He stared at the snow through a crack in the wall, his rifle close by. He didn't know who she was, or what she had done, but she had been left to die, and he couldn't walk away from that. Not again. In the morning, Sira woke to the smell of something warm. Logan had cooked a small meal with what little rations he had left. She ate slowly, silently, still unsure how to trust him. Then she noticed something. His hands were shaking from the cold. He had given her everything, the blanket, the food, the heat. She pushed the blanket toward him, and for the first time, he looked surprised. A moment passed between them, quiet but powerful. Two enemies, alone in the cold, no longer enemies. Outside, distant sounds echoed through the forest. Ships, drones, someone was searching. But whether they came for her or him, neither knew. All they knew was that they only had each other now, and that, somehow, was enough. Logan sat near the broken wall of the outpost, holding his rifle. Snow kept falling outside. But the heater in the shelter was still working. Sierra was sleeping on the cot. Her body weak, but breathing better now. Her leg was bandaged, and the blue of her skin had returned to a healthier tone. Logan watched her silently, still trying to understand what had happened. Why would someone abandon her like that? Even enemies deserved more than this. He had seen many battles, many lies, but something about this felt different. This girl was no threat. She was just broken, scared, and left to die. Logan stood slowly, feeling pain shoot through his side. He was still sore from earlier fights. His armor had dents, his supplies were almost gone. But something inside him refused to leave her. She reminded him of someone. Long ago, he checked the door seals and then scanned the area using his old handheld sensor. No movement nearby, least not yet, but he knew this forest wouldn't stay quiet forever. Her people might come back, and if they did, they might not be friendly. Inside, Sierra opened her eyes. She looked around quickly, panic flashing in her expression. When she saw Logan, her body relaxed a little. He nodded at her and tossed her a protein bar. She caught it with shaky hands and began to eat slowly. Logan sat near her and tried speaking again. "Why did they leave you?" he asked softly. Sierra looked away, her eyes darkening. She reached into her coat and pulled out a small translator cube. She pressed a few buttons, and a robotic voice spoke. "They said I was a disgrace," it said in her language, then repeated in English. "I did not follow orders. I refused to kill unarmed beings." Logan blinked. Surprised, he looked at her again. Trying to read her face, she stared down at her hands. As if ashamed, he took a breath and said, "Then you did the right thing." Sierra looked at him quickly. Shocked, no one said that before. The translator echoed. He gave her a small, tired smile. Then they were wrong. Silence fell between them for a few minutes. Outside, the wind howled through the trees. Sierra's hands tightened around the blanket. "Are you going to leave me too?" she asked suddenly. Logan didn't answer right away. He stood up, walked over to a storage box, and pulled out his spare coat. He dropped it over her and said, "I'm still here, aren't I?" Sierra didn't reply, but her eyes filled with something new, something close to hope. Later that afternoon, Logan checked their supplies again. They had 2 days of food left and only 1 day's worth of battery for the heater. They needed a better plan. "We have to move soon," he told her. Sierra frowned. "I can't walk fast." "I'll help you," he said simply. But before they could make a plan, the outpost sensor beeped. Motion detected. Logan rushed to the small window and saw a small flying drone in the distance. It wasn't human-made, was alien tech, probably hers. "Scouts," he muttered. He looked at Sarah, who was already trying to sit up. "They'll come for us," she said. "They don't want me talking." Logan grabbed his rifle and checked the magazine. "They'll regret it," he replied. He opened a small panel on the wall and showed Sierra a hidden compartment. Inside were some old mines and scrap explosives. "We'll leave traps," he said. She nodded, then pointed to her own gear. "My cum unit. I can block their signals for a short time." Together, they began preparing. Logan planted traps near the trees and under the snow. Sierra adjusted her cum unit, working through pain. She still limped. But her hands were steady now, as night fell. The wind grew stronger. Sierra sat near the heater, her face pale but alert. "Why do you help me?" she asked again. Logan looked at her and answered, "Because you didn't deserve what they did to you." She stared at him for a long time, then whispered, "I used to think all humans were monsters." He gave a half smile. "A lot of humans think all aliens are monsters too." She laughed softly for the first time. I guess we're both wrong. Outside, the sensor beeped again. Louder this time. They both looked at each other. Footsteps. Engines. The real fight was coming, but this time, Sarah was not alone, and neither was Logan. The night was cold and silent, but something felt wrong. Logan stood near the door, his rifle ready. Sarah sat beside the heater, watching him. Both of them listened to the soft beeping of the sensor. Someone or something was getting closer. Sarah pressed her hand to her comm unit, adjusting the frequency. I can block their signals for 2 minutes, she said. 2 minutes is enough, Logan replied. He stepped outside and carefully placed the last mine under the snow. Each step he took was slow. Careful, he knew one wrong move could mean death. Back inside, Sarah pulled out a small dagger from her boot. It was all she had left from her old squad. She had never used it in combat, but now she was ready to fight. She would not be taken again. Then they heard metal footsteps crunching through the snow. Drones hovered above the trees, scanning the area with red lights. Sarah quickly activated the signal jammer. The drones twitched and floated off balance. Blinking in confusion, Logan moved to the side of the building. His back against the wall. He waited, holding his breath. Then, boom. The first mine exploded, throwing snow and parts of a drone into the air. Sarah gasped, but stayed low, gripping her dagger tight. 3 alien soldiers ran toward the shelter. Shouting orders, they wore armor, their weapons glowing with blue energy. Logan waited until they stepped into the second trap. Boom, another explosion. One soldier flew backward, hitting a tree hard. The other 2 fired at the shelter, energy beams hitting the wall. Sarah ducked, covering her head. The wall cracked and smoke filled the air. Logan rolled to the side, took aim, and fired. One shot, clean and fast, hit the second soldier in the chest. He dropped without a sound. The last one saw Logan and rushed forward with a blade. Logan didn't have time to reload. He raised his arm, blocking the strike with his rifle. The blade cut through the metal, slicing deep into Logan's arm. He yelled in pain, falling back. Sarah screamed, then stood and threw her dagger. It struck the soldier in the neck, and he collapsed, choking. Silence returned, broken only by the sound of Logan's heavy breathing. Sarah ran to him, her hands shaking. His arm was bleeding badly. Hold still, she said. Trying to stop the blood with a cloth, Logan winced, but nodded. You saved me, he said softly. You saved me first, she replied. Tears in her eyes, the signal jammer began to spark it. Was dying? They'll be back, she whispered. Logan looked at her, his face pale. Then we send a message. Not to your people, but mine. Sarah hesitated, then nodded. She took his communicator and connected it to her own device. The 2 systems clashed at first, but she forced them to work together. Done, she said, sending distress signal. Now, Logan leaned against the wall, sweating from pain. Will they come? She asked. I don't know, he replied. But we have to try, outside. The wind picked up again. More drones buzzed in the distance. Logan and Sarah looked at each other. There was no fear now, only trust. Sarah took the remaining weapon. From the fallen alien soldier, she checked its charge and nodded. If they come, I fight with you, she said. Logan smiled weakly. You're full of surprises, suddenly. A loud sound echoed through the sky. Sarah stepped outside and looked. Up, far above, a ship broke through the clouds, dark gray, marked with a human symbol. Her heart raced. She ran back in. Logan, look. He forced himself up and saw it too, a human gunship, coming fast. They heard us, he whispered. The drones began to flee, their lights flashing in panic. Seconds later, the gunship landed near the outpost. Human soldiers rushed out. Weapons Rays scanning for threats. One of them saw Logan and ran forward. "Commander, you're alive." Logan nodded. Too weak to speak. The soldier turned to Sierra, raising his weapon. "Wait," Logan said. Finding his voice, "She saved my life." "She's not the enemy." The soldier looked confused, but lowered his weapon. They lifted Logan onto a stretcher and helped Sierra into the ship as the gunship lifted off. The battlefield below faded into the snow. Sierra looked down, tears in her eyes. This time, she wasn't left behind, and neither was he. The inside of the human gunship was warm and filled with light. Sierra sat beside Logan, holding a bandage against his bleeding arm. His eyes were half closed, but he was awake. Human medics moved around him quickly, trying to stop the bleeding. One of them looked at Sierra with a questioning expression. "She's with me," Logan said in a tired voice. The medic paused, then nodded and handed her a clean cloth. Sierra pressed it gently on Logan's wound, her hands steady, outside. The snowstorm disappeared as the ship rose into the sky. For the first time, she was leaving that cursed battlefield far behind. The commander of the ship walked over to them. He was tall, serious, with sharp eyes and short gray hair. He looked at Logan first, then at Sierra. "You're lucky we caught the signal," he said. Logan gave a weak smile. "Lucky she knew how to send it." The commander raised an eyebrow. "She's not one of ours." "She is now," Logan replied. Sierra didn't speak, but her eyes met the commander's without fear. She had made her choice. The ship landed at a forward base hidden deep in the mountains. Soldiers rushed out to carry Logan to the medical tent. Sierra stepped down carefully, still limping from her injury. Snow crunched under her boots. But the air here felt different, safer. Humans walked past her, some staring, some whispering. She kept her head high, not ashamed. Later that night, a doctor treated her leg again and gave her clean clothes. They were simple military pants and a dark jacket, nothing fancy. But to her, they felt like armor. She was no longer a forgotten soldier. She was part of something. She went to visit Logan in the medical tent. He was resting, connected to wires and machines. But he opened his eyes when she entered. "You look better," he said with a smile. "So do you," she replied softly. A few minutes later, the base commander entered. He looked at Sierra with curious eyes. "You refused to follow your orders, didn't you?" he asked. Sierra nodded. "They told me to shoot unarmed beings. I couldn't." The commander crossed his arms, thinking, "You risked your life for him." He added, glancing at Logan. "I couldn't leave him," she said simply. The commander looked at Logan, who nodded in agreement. "She's one of the good ones," he said. The next day, a meeting was called in the command room. Sierra was asked to attend. Even though she was not human, she walked in quietly. Standing behind Logan's chair, several officers looked at her with suspicion. But no one stopped her. A large screen lit up, showing images of enemy troop movements. "This girl," said one officer, pointing at Sierra, "knows how their signals work." Logan spoke up. "She helped me fight them off. She knows their tactics. She's not a threat, she's an asset." There was silence in the room for a moment. Then the commander nodded slowly. "All right. We give her a chance." Sierra's eyes widened slightly. She wasn't used to people believing in her, not since the day her own people left her to die. That night, she was given a small room at the base. It had a bed, a light, and even a window. She sat by the window for a long time, watching the stars above the snowy trees. She remembered her training as a soldier, the lies she had been told about humans, the fear she had carried for so long now. One human had saved her when no one else would, and she had saved him too. They were no longer enemies. They were something else, now something stronger. In the morning, a young soldier knocked on her door. "Captain Logan wants to see you," he said. She followed him to the main tent. Logan sat in a chair, his arms still bandaged, but his smile was back. "They offered me a transfer," he said. A new unit. One that needs someone who knows how to deal with alien forces. Sierra tilted her head, curious. I told them I won't go without you, he added. Her heart skipped a beat. You want me to join you? She asked. I want someone beside me I can trust. He said. Sierra thought for a moment, then smiled. Then I go where you go. Outside, snow began to fall again. But this time, Sierra didn't feel cold. She had a new mission, a new uniform. And a human by her side. She wasn't alone anymore, and she was ready for whatever came next. Snow covered the roof of the human base as Sierra stepped outside. She wore a new uniform, now gray with a small human patch on the chest. It wasn't perfect, but it fit, and that meant something. Other soldiers still stared at her, but not with hate, just curiosity. They had heard stories about her. Some called her the alien who saved a human. Others just called her Logan's ghost. But she didn't care what they called her. All that mattered was the mission and Logan, who now walked beside her with a fresh scar and steady eyes. Captain Logan was officially transferred to a mobile recon unit. He was given command of a small, mixed team of soldiers, and he asked for Sarah to be part of it. At first, the generals were unsure an alien soldier in a human unit. But Logan made it simple. She saved me when no one else could. I trust her more than most people in this room, and so she was approved. Their new mission was risky. Enter a neutral zone where human and alien borders touched. Gather intel, find supply routes, and confirm reports of a secret base. Logan gathered his team for human soldiers and one alien girl. Sierra stood with them as equals, though she still felt like a stranger. Until one of the soldiers, a quiet girl named Harper, forwarded her a protein bar and smiled. Let's stay alive together, Harper said, and just like that, something in Sierra's chest warmed. They flew low over the mountains in a small dropship. The air was tense, but Sierra sat calmly. Her eyes focused. Logan leaned toward her. You okay? She nodded. I was born for missions like this. He smiled. Good. Just don't get too heroic. One of us already has a limp. They both laughed quietly. But inside, Sierra felt pressure. This was her chance to prove she belonged here. Not just to Logan, but to the whole human race. They landed near a forest at night. The area was quiet, but something felt wrong. The trees were too still, the air too quiet. Logan gave hand signals, and the team moved forward in pairs. Sierra's eyes scanned the darkness. Her species could see heat-faint trails of warmth in the cold night. She spotted something strange. 6 heat spots hiding in the rocks up ahead. She whispered to Logan, "We're not alone." He nodded and signaled the team to stop. Seconds later, the enemy revealed themselves. Not Sierra's old army, but a mercenary group, hired guns, who didn't care about rules or peace zones. They opened fire without warning. Sierra dove behind a tree, firing back with her new rifle. Logan rolled into cover and shouted orders. Suppress right side. Push left. Bullets and plasma flew across the forest. Harper was hit in the leg, but she kept shooting. One merc came too close. Sierra spun around and knocked him out with a sharp blow. She fought like a shadow, moving through trees with speed and focus. Her old training came back like a storm, and now, with humans beside her, she felt stronger. After a brutal fight, the enemy pulled back. 3 mercenaries lay unconscious. The rest ran into the night. Logan checked the team. Harper's wound was deep but not deadly. Everyone alive, he said with relief. Sierra nodded. Reloading her weapon, too clean, she said. That was a warning, Logan agreed. They weren't here to kill us. They were testing us. The team moved deeper into the forest and found a hidden base. It was underground with alien markings and human tech mixed together. Sierra frowned. This is not normal. Inside, they found something worse: files showing that both sides were being manipulated. The war was being pushed by third-party forces who wanted chaos, and they had names powerful ones on both councils. Logan's face darkened as he read the data. This changes everything, Sierra whispered. If we take this back, they'll try to silence us. Logan looked at her. Then we don't go back alone. Suddenly, alarms rang inside the base. They had been detected. Sierra grabbed the files. Harper limped beside them, and Logan led the team out. As they ran through the woods, ships rose in the sky behind them. Bright lights swept over the trees, but Sierra didn't look back. She kept running forward. Because now she wasn't just saving herself or Logan. Now she carried the truth, and that made her more dangerous than ever. The forest was burning behind them. Red lights from enemy drones painted the sky. Sierra ran beside Logan, gripping the stolen data tablet tightly. Every breath felt like fire, but she didn't stop. Harper limped behind them. Supported by another soldier, their small team was outnumbered, outgunned, and on the run. They had to survive, not just for themselves, but to deliver the truth. Logan looked at Sierra as they reached a rocky slope. "Do you still have the files?" Sierra nodded. "Yes, and they're protected." "Good," he said. "We get out of here, or we die for nothing." Above them, a gunship passed overhead, searching. Logan pointed to a cave hidden beneath some trees. "Cover me," he said. Then crawled in to scout it. A few seconds later, he called them in. The team ducked into the dark space, breathless and covered in snow. Inside, the cave was cold and narrow, but it had a back tunnel and enough space to rest. Sierra sat against the wall, finally letting her hands shake. Harper leaned beside her, smiling weakly. "You fight better than any alien I've ever seen. You bleed better than any human I've seen." Sierra replied with a small smile. Logan set up a small jammer device to block trackers. "We'll rest for 2 hours, then we move again," he said. The team nodded, too tired to argue. Sierra looked down at the data tablet. On the screen were names of leaders, weapons dealers, spies, all working together to keep the war going. They didn't want peace. They wanted profit. And they were ready to destroy anyone who found out this war. "It's fake," she whispered. Logan sat beside her, his face grim. "Not fake," he said. "Just controlled." "But why? Why lie to both sides?" she asked. He looked at her. "Fear is power, and war makes the powerful richer." Sierra clenched her fists. "All this time I thought I was the problem." Logan touched her shoulder gently. "You were just honest," he said, "and now you're the reason this truth can come out." They rested in silence, but danger was closing in. The drones outside weren't leaving. They were scanning every inch of the forest. And soon they'd find the cave. 2 hours later, Logan stood up. "We moved to the valley. There's an old relay tower there, if we can upload the data. From that tower, it goes to all command levels." Sierra nodded, "And after that?" "Then we run," he said simply. The team moved again, slowly, carefully. Harper leaned on a stick, refusing to slow them down. The night grew darker and snow fell harder. Sierra walked in the front now, guiding them with her heat vision. Finally, they reached the valley. The old relay tower stood like a giant skeleton above the trees. Half of it was broken, but the core was still powered. Sierra climbed up with Logan. They connected the tablet and started the upload. The screen blinked, uploading 12%, 27%, 42%, ... below them. The forest exploded with light. Enemy troops had found them. Gunfire echoed across the valley. "Cover us," Logan shouted. The team returned fire from behind rocks and trees. Sierra kept her hands steady on the panel. 57%, 68%, 79%, ... A shot hit near her foot. Shaking the tower, she held the tablet tighter, refusing to move. Logan climbed beside her, covering her with his body. 92%, 97%. 100% upload complete. A green light flashed. The data was out. It was done. Sierra looked at Logan. Breathing hard, we did it. Logan nodded. Now we just have to survive it. The tower shook again as rockets hit the ground nearby. Sierra and Logan slid down. Rejoining the team, they ran through the trees again. This time with fire behind them and hope ahead. Soon, enemy fire stopped. Drones pulled away from the area. What's happening? Harper asked. Sierra looked at the sky, where human ships now arrived from above. The message worked, she said. Command knows the truth. Logan sighed, sitting on a rock. We just made some very powerful enemies. Sierra sat beside him, her face calm, but we also gave people something they haven't had in a long time. What's that? Logan asked. Truth, she said, and maybe peace. The snow kept falling, but this time it didn't feel cold. This time it felt like the start of something new. The battle was over. Snow still covered the trees, but the fire and smoke had faded. Human ships landed across the valley, carrying soldiers, medics, and officers. Sierra stood on a hill, watching it all from above. The data she and Logan had sent had reached every command level. The truth was out. Leaders who hid behind lies were now under investigation. Allies who once hated each other were talking again. Some still denied everything. But the evidence was too strong to ignore. Logan walked up behind her, his arms still bandaged, but he stood tall, stronger than ever. You sure you want to go back with me? He asked. Sierra didn't even look away from the sky. I'm not going back. I'm moving forward, she said. They had been given awards, both of them, medals, speeches, handshakes from generals. But those things didn't matter much. What mattered was that they were alive and they had changed something big. Sierra was now known among humans as the Truth Walker. Some praised her, others still didn't trust her. But no one could ignore what she had done 1 week later. Logan's new unit was assigned a special mission to form the first mixed-species peace team. Humans, aliens, anyone who wanted peace could join, and Logan had only one request for his second-in-command mate. Sierra, she walked into the room full of soldiers from different worlds. Some looked at her with respect, some with doubt. She didn't flinch. She stood next to Logan and said, We've all lost people. We've all seen lies. But we can be better. That night, she sat alone under the stars outside the base. The sky above was clear, and the moons looked beautiful. She remembered her first days in the snow cold. Lost, unwanted. Now, she was no longer alone. Logan walked over and sat beside her. He handed her a small cup of warm tea. You ever think about what could have happened if I didn't find you? He asked. Sierra smiled. You'd probably still be bleeding in a frozen outpost. They both laughed quietly. He looked at her for a moment. Serious now. You changed everything. Not just for your people or mine, but for both. Sierra shook her head. We changed it together, far away. Reports spread across colonies and planets. Stories of a human and an alien who fought side by side, who risked everything to stop a lie. Young recruits read those reports and saw something. Knew that trust was possible. That unity was real. Back at the base, Harper trained with 2 alien volunteers. Another soldier joked with a reptilian warrior. Things were still rough, but they were starting to heal. One morning, a communication came from Sierra's old homeworld. A small group of her people sent a message. We were wrong. The message said, Come home if you want. You are forgiven. Sierra read it quietly, then turned to Logan. What do you think? She asked. He gave her a long look. I think you already found your home. She smiled and deleted the message, not out of anger, but because she had made peace with her past. A few weeks later, Sierra and Logan led their new team into unknown space. They didn't know what they would find, maybe new enemies, maybe more lies, But they didn't care, because now they had something stronger than fear. They had each other, and a mission. That truly mattered. Sierra looked out the ship's window as stars flew past. She reached up and touched her metal one she had never asked for, a symbol of truth, survival, and hope. Logan walked onto the deck, helmet in hand. Ready? He asked. She nodded. Let's go fix the galaxy. And with that, the ship jumped to light speed. Two former enemies, now side by side, not just fighting a war, but ending one together.